You're welcome. The Independent National Electoral Commission, Nigeria's electoral umpire, fixed September 21, 2024 for the Edo State governorship election, while party primaries will hold from February 1 to February 24, 2024, while the submission of the list of nominated candidates via the online portal of the Independent National Electoral Commission will start from 9 a.m. of March 4, 2024, and will close 20 days later, 6 p.m. on March 24, 2024. Also, the final list of candidates will be published on April 23, 2024, while the campaign in public by the political parties commences on the 24th of April, 2024. Of course, this is prior to election day. The election or the campaigning ends 24 hours prior to election day. That's on the 19th of September 2024. Tonight we have an aspirant, conversation with an aspirant who hopes to be the flag bearer of his party, the People's Democratic Party. I'd like to say a very good evening to our guest, Mr. Anselm Ojezwa, is a governorship aspirant of the People's Democratic Party. Good evening to you. Thank you very kindly for your time, Mr. Ojezwa.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
All right. On Sunday, your party, the People's Democratic Party, conducted a congress to select delegates that will participate in the governorship primaries, which are slated for the 22nd of February 2024, just 2 days before the expiry of INEC's date given to the parties. We hear that, you know, the man who was appointed as the chairman of the committee in charge of the Delegates Congress, Governor Seyi Makinde of Edo State, stepped out or stepped aside from that Congress, was not there. We hear that some of the notable aspirants, about 11 of them, including Shaibu, who is the current Philip Shaibu deputy governor, did not participate in that Congress. Were you part of those who withdrew? And please tell us what happened on Sunday.
Well, I think I need to correct the impression. Nobody withdrew from the Congress. The point is that 9 of us were isolated from the process. Right from the beginning, the entire process was hijacked in connivance with some elements in the National Working Committee. The entire materials that would have been used for the Congress were handed over to the governor of Edo State and the state chairman of the party, against the tenets of the constitution of the party and even the guidelines that was made by the National Working Committee. So you can imagine a situation where the materials came to Edo State at least 2 days before the chairman of the committee that was supposed to bring those materials. The usual practice is that those materials come with the committee. The committee will meet with stakeholders, especially the aspirants, where all the rules of the game will be established, all the materials to be used will be inspected and escorted to the various locations. None of this took place. So what you saw or what you have heard in Edo was just a charade.
All right. So your allegation is that the materials for the Congress were arrived the state before the committee, and its chairman, Governor Seyi Makinde, arrived. So is there any truth to what we hear, that apart from none of you who boycotted that Congress, the governor for your state, Governor Seyi Makinde, also withdrew from that process?
Yes, you see, before he left Ibadan, we had actually written to him to express our concerns, you know, about even the committee that was going to be to supervise the process. We discovered that the organizing secretary of the party, the national organizing secretary, released a list bearing, major functionaries of Edo State government, quite different from what we had agreed with the National Working Committee. We had a meeting with them, but unfortunately that was it. So we wrote to Governor Seyi Makinde to express our reservations. And of course, he drew the attention of the national chairman to this. Evidently, he could see that there was a premeditated plan, and I'm sure he didn't want to be part of it, even though that was not the reason he gave. But he also declined to participate in that process. And by the time, even as at the time we were talking, those materials had already found their way into Edo State. The state chairman was the one who deployed all the materials and the men who went to conduct that exercise. He admitted to that in channels last night, in spite of the fact that he said it was the responsibility of the National Working Committee, but he gave graphic details as to how he conducted the exercise. He also admitted that government functionaries were the ones who actually supervised that process. Therefore, that process could not have been said to be a level playing field. Neither could you say it was free and fair. What is even worse, it was not transparent. The chairman of the committee came into Benin about 12 noon on that day, by which time the exercise had all but concluded as far as they were concerned. We were waiting to meet with the committee in order for the exercise to commence, and we were told that the exercise had closed. So we were actually isolated from the process. We did not, we could not have withdrawn from it. We could not have boycotted. We have huge investment. We are stakeholders. We paid heavily to participate in the process, but we were precluded from doing so by some elements within the National Working Committee and the state government. Just to be clear, the governor, Godwin Obaseki, and Anthony Azegbemi, who is the state chairman, they colluded to do this kind of thing against the party. Okay. I sympathize with them.
Mr. Jesu, so are you saying you and 8 other aspirants out of the 11 governorship aspirants in the Edo PDP boycotted the Delegates Congress? So are you saying that you were not aware? You were not aware of the venue.
We did not boycott. We were precluded from participating. We did not boycott. We could not have boycotted. We were not invited. We didn't see those materials. We don't even know when they arrived. We did not meet any member of the committee that was set up. None of them invited us. The governor Umba, who came in at 12 noon on Sunday, he telephoned the deputy governor to announce his arrival, and he expressed his intention to meet with us. We're waiting for his call. It never came. The next thing, we saw him addressing pressmen to say he has gone around to 2 locations and he's satisfied that the process was free and fair. In other words, he came in to monitor. He came in as an observer, not as the person who was supposed to conduct that process from start to finish. As at the time he came, the committee could not have come midway into the process. They were the ones who were supposed to conduct the process. So we didn't boycott. We were precluded from participating.
Okay, we hear that those of you, 9 of you, who well, you're saying we're precluded, but we hear the word on the street is that you were boycotted. Because we hear Philip Shaibu was there and he left.
We were waiting. We were waiting. Normally, once the committee comes, the first thing is to call a stakeholders meeting. They will introduce themselves to us. They will show us the materials that they have brought. They will also tell us what the rules they were going to use. They will introduce us to the officers. We are entitled to send our agents with their officers to go and ensure that the process was done in accordance with the guidelines. None of that happened. We are not soothsayers. There's no way we could know that the process, how would we know?
Okay. We hear that some of the aspirants who, have issues with that primary, or with the Congress, the Delegates Congress, also have an issue with the composition of the committee. Is there any truth to that? Because we know that this is a 3-man committee headed by Governor Seyi Makinde. So is it true that 9 of you have an issue with the composition of the committee?
No. You see, there is the committee that was headed by Governor Seyi Makinde. After Governor Seyi Makinde declined, the party later announced Governor Peter Umba of Enugu State as chairman.
Was this after the Congress held?
We did not have the issue with his committee. We had issues with the committees set up by Anthony Azegbemi. He set up committees made up of the Edo State Speaker, special advisors to the governor, and sent them round to go and do whatever it was that they did. Those were the ones that we had issues with. What is even worse, the constitution of the party and the guidelines clearly states that the ward chapters are the ones who have the responsibility to conduct these congresses. Yet, they sent people to go and do the conduct. Anthony Azebemi was the person who conducted that exercise, not Peter Mba. And he admitted to that yesterday in channels on Shehu Akimbaloye's program. I watched him, you know.
All right.
So
your party chairman in Edo State has said that, 9 of you can approach the appeal panel headed by Governor Doye Diri of Bayelsa State. You have the right to do that.
You see, issues have been raised, with the process, which is something that the party has to deal with. There are even legal issues that have the capacity to nullify the process. We will do all that we need to do to ensure that we get justice.
Okay. So are you saying you're going to use the party mechanism? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yes. Why not? We are members of the party. We are the stakeholders. We are party men. We are concerned about the future of the party. We are concerned about, the fortunes of the party. Sometimes I wonder what their motive is, but we will find out as we move ahead.
Okay. But I mean, when we talk about the delegates Congress, this is a Congress set up to elect members of the party who will be delegates at the party primaries to select or elect rather the governorship candidate of the party. Now, if you as candidates are there, what is your role? Is it still not the same members of the party who were elected at that Congress that held at the George Ida Primary School, GRA Benin, that will still hold whether you are there or not?
Well, you see, the point about it is that we are the ones for whom these congresses are being organized, because the congresses are organized to elect the delegates from every ward. We have 192 wards, and therefore there should not have been one incident in George Ida Primary School. There should be 192 locations where that Congress, where those congresses will take place. And the 3 delegates that
All right, we seem to have lost a connection with our guest, but yeah.
There's a call that's disturbing.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Anselm, I have to retract because the congresses didn't hold in one location, like you said. They were held across the wards.
Yeah, the Congress ought to have held in 192 locations.
Yes.
And they are going to elect people who will vote in the primaries for which we are the candidates, as it were. Therefore, we have every interest to protect in this. But let me even make it clear. Those whoever the delegates are, for me, speaking for myself, I don't have problem with that. I have said it before, and I will say it again. Whomsoever Governor Obaseki brings to the venue of the primaries will shock him on that day. I will defeat his candidate.
Okay.
I can tell you that free. But I am concerned about the process. The process must be seen to be free and fair as enshrined in the constitution of the party and the guidelines that they themselves have made. We will not allow one man to have his way simply because he says so. He has been a beneficiary of some of our efforts, and he must learn to do equity.
Okay. This is what Governor Godwin Obaseki said when he was asked about the resignation of Governor Seyi Makinde from the party Congress right there in Edo State as chairman of the party's committee. He said, quote, it's unfortunate that Makinde withdrew. There are 3 governors. He's only one. There are 3 governors. He's only one of the 3 that withdrew, which does not remove the credibility of the process. What makes a process credible is the quality of the participation. You can see the turnout. It is so unfortunate that Makinde took such a decision. What's your reaction to that?
What that clearly tells you is that Godwin Obaseki does not know what makes a process credible. The turnout is not the issue. The issue is the conduct of the officials, the transparency of the process, and then you can talk about participation. If those who are directly concerned, of which he is not even one, are completely precluded, what is the quality of that process? So for him to come and say that, I think it's just grandstanding.
All right, where do you stand on this, issue of zonal rotation of the governorship position in Edo State, the senatorial district rather, a rotation?
Well, zoning is not part of our law, neither is it part of our constitution. But it is something that people must consider when making their choices. I just spoke about equity a moment ago. So when you seek equity, they say those who seek equity must come with clean hands. And in the process, for your information, I am from Edo Central. Edo Central is the area that seeks equity this time. And that is one of the reasons why I also presented myself. But you see, for us to succeed, we must seek the cooperation of our brothers in Edo North and Edo South. Edo Central alone cannot produce a governor. There is no senatorial district that can do so by itself. But we must use persuasion and negotiation. Nobody has the right of entitlement. Politics is about negotiation. And I believe that, yes, it is true that our people desire to have a governor of their own. I subscribe to that. But we must persuade our brothers in Edo South and Edo North to show the requisite understanding and to do that. We cannot do it by force.
Okay. Just before you go, sir, sorry to interject there. Tell us what you know and what your thoughts are on the incident in Isako Central Ward, where delegates in that ad hoc delegates Congress were allegedly kidnapped 9 electoral officers of the PDP.
I know nothing about that. I don't come from that area, so I'm not in a position to speak.
All right. Anselmo Jesua, PDP governorship aspirant, Edo State, thank you so very kindly for your time. We look in forward to your party primary and on the 22nd of February. You're saying you'll defeat Governor Obaseki's anointed candidate, hands down. We'll be there to watch and to see if that happens. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. You are welcome.
Nigeria's electoral umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission, last weekend conducted and announced the results of 9 by-elections and 35 rerun elections across 26 states in Nigeria. However, the election observers say they witnessed widespread voter apathy. For instance, during the Surulere Federal Constituency 1, though that constituency has 121,111 voters, the winner, Fuad Laguda of the APC, garnered a total of 11,203 votes, defeating his closest rival by a significant margin. So you can imagine how many people stayed at home. Also, INEC suspended the rerun and by-elections in certain constituencies due to violence and other electoral irregularities. For instance, in Ikono, in a federal constituency in Akwa Ibom State, there was suspension of elections in 2 polling units where all election materials were said to have been carted away by hoodlums. This is according to INEC. In Enugu South 1 state constituency in Enugu State, the commission says that voting was suspended in all 8 polling units where the original election results sheets were not available for inspection by voters before the commencement of polls. Again, in Kunchi, Sanyawa State constituency in Kano State, voting was suspended in all 10 polling units in Kunchi local government area due to invasion, vandalization, and disruption of the process by thugs. These elections may be a step forward for Nigeria's democracy, looking at what happened, or are we still going around in circles as far as democracy in Nigeria is concerned? Stanley Kwazima is a senior analyst and political communications expert. He joins us via video link from Abuja. Yunusa Salusi Tanko is the spokesperson for the Obi Dati presidential campaign organization of the Labour Party. He joins us live in the studio. Gentlemen, a very good evening to you.
Good evening, and thank you very much for having me.
All right. Let's start with you, Tanko Yunusa. What's your assessment of the elections that held on Saturday? And because of what happened, they had to push some elections to Sunday.
Okay, number one, I would say I'm speaking with sadness in my mind, with the simple fact that these are recurrent decimal in our political day life. Now, the issue of ballot box snatching, misuse of electoral materials, denial and intimidation of the electorate has been issues that have been bedeviling the electoral system in Nigeria for a very long time. And so therefore, if there are issues, as a scholar will have done, of course he has already been able to identify the problem. What he does is that as a scholar, you will find solutions to the problem. And I want to believe that the solutions were being proposed and actually agreed upon during the Electoral Act Amendment in 2010. Now the issue is as regard to the issue of implementation of this particular position of the Electoral Act. Now, who are the people who are responsible for that execution of the Electoral Act action? One, the Independent Electoral Commission. Two, the security agencies. Yes, the political party have a role to play, and then the electorate themselves. Now, I give a relationship to what happened at Ibo Eze in Udenu, Eze North Udenu Federal Constituency, which I witnessed just about some few days ago. Now, we have two local government for an election. Honorable Dennis Agbo, who is a sitting House of Reps member, was leading with 12,500 votes. And this election would take place within these two local governments. It will amaze you to know the security that was supposed to be put in place was not put in place. What you had was vigilantes who were guarding and protecting the polling units, as it were. So the question you want to ask is that where are the security men that are supposed to protect the people and the votes? They were nowhere to be found. Then secondly, you now allude to the fact that the electoral umpire itself, how on earth did they go to the polling unit without electoral result sheet? It's a question you want to ask yourself. Somebody must be responsible for those particular electoral sheets, and I know for sure that those particular documents were brought in from Abuja and kept in the central bank in Enugu State, where the political party picked them and ascertained that the documents were actually available. So who did we arrest that you didn't bring those particular result sheets back to the polling station? Nobody. Up till now, nobody has been arrested.
All right.
Then, those are the issues that bedeviled our political system. Probably we should start considering option A4 if we are to start amending the Electoral Act, because with option A4, it's very clear. You queue against your candidate and they count. The result cannot be different from what the people see and what the people use in counting.
All right. We'll come back to that issue of violence and the issue of the result sheet in a matter of minutes, because I would like to talk about that in-depthly. Let's go over to you, Stanley Nkwazama, your assessment of Saturday and Sunday's elections. Yunusa here in the studio has talked about the conduct of INEC, security agencies, and also, of course, violence during that election. What's your assessment? Would you want to talk about maybe voter apathy or INEC's conduct? Please speak to us.
Thank you so much. It has always been a recurring decimal when elections are conducted, be it the off-season election or the normal election that is conducted in Nigeria. We've been having these problems over a long time. And now, INEC has failed to correct these issues of bringing in the result sheets early, expansion of materials, and the arrival of voting materials on time, even as the voters who diligently sit down there to wait and cast their votes for the candidates they want to cast their votes for. Then secondly, another issue is the security issue. Are they there, the police, the army, and whoever is sent there, are they there to ensure that there's a peaceful conduct of the election, or they are there to put their eyes away and allow people do whatever they like and move away from the polling stations and cause havoc? We are talking about Ibueze, Udenu, and Abo in Enugu State, that the elections were cancelled because the voting materials or the result sheets were not inspected. As my friend Tanko said earlier, the election in Anambra State, why did they not inspect the materials at the central bank in Enugu, where INEC keeps those materials, and ask the political parties who are taking part to inspect the materials? No. Were they inspected? Nobody knew. And at the end of the day, they came to a polling units without those materials that are supposed to be there. I mean, it's a shame that at this age, even if my friend says option A4 should be used, option A4 can never solve the problem. We need to vote and stay there, wait for the results to be counted at that polling stations and make sure they are transmitted. It will continue unless we change our system. We begin to understand that, no, we need to vote, get the materials on time, watch who and who are voting, and make sure that the electoral materials are sent to the central unit where they are used. Then again, INEC has suspended exercise in Kano. You knew quite right, my brother, that Kano is a volatile area. Their voting pattern is massive. These are areas that the people don't joke with. Their voter apathy and their understanding of an election is more than what you can see in other states, especially Kano states. Even if you do it 20, 30 times, the crowd that will come, because they know who they want to vote for and know who they will not vote for. So if you talk about Akwa Ibom, most of them knew what was going to happen in that area. And most people did not come out because they've already felt that, okay, the ones we voted for before, what happened? Nobody cared. Our results did not count. So why should we not go back to vote?
So I want to ask you, gentlemen. I want to ask you, gentlemen. Please let me come back to you, Sanusi. I'll come back to you, Stanley, very shortly. But Sanusi, Tanko, you talked about, violence. That's one of the things you talked about. Your counterpart here is talking about that, talking about the conduct of INEC, but also he's talked about voter apathy, which you'll come to in a jiffy. There were reports, in some polling units of violence, and as you alluded to also both yourself and Stanley, why are political thugs able to disrupt an election that is conducted in far fewer places than the general elections? We had 44 seats that were up for grabs. Some of them in just a handful of polling units. So the expectation would be that it would be easier to police, like we saw in the clip that was played just now of someone who says an INEC official who had already pre-filled election results. There was only one policewoman, you can see her there, only one policewoman there. And I don't know if thugs, when they were beating him up, she wasn't able to intervene, and no surprises. Tanko?
Yeah, okay, let me correct an impression. Like I said earlier on, the election materials were actually inspected by our agents right from the Enugu Central Bank, and we were sure that the electoral materials were provided accordingly by INEC. Now listen, the truth about this is this. Those who are in position of power find a way of infiltrating the police, the security agency, including INEC staff themselves. And they've already institutionalized this particular corruption into the highest level, including our judiciary. Some will say these are allegations, but these are facts. Because if you look at it from the beginning, you just alluded to the fact that there was only one policewoman at that polling station, and that she's just a woman. This is not in any way to demean the capacity of a woman when it comes to policing, but of course, when it comes to where men are there, you may not be able to expect what kind of violence must be unleashed on that gentlewoman who is a police officer. And you know very well they are not allowed to carry a weapon when they are at their polling unit. But then, if there are quite a number of them around the vicinity and within the polling unit, probably those who want to unleash mayhem wouldn't have done so. But the infiltration of these particular politicians who are in position of power, who want to win at all costs, will not allow this particular seamless process to take place. We were told that probably even the former governor of Edo State was at even the collation center at 3 a.m. So you want to wonder, what will he be doing at 3 a.m. at the collation center? And this is the reason why mistakes that we make as people. Now, the judiciary after the Peter Obi election confirmed, give legality to issue that we feel is illegal, to issue of elections, where you say that probably INEC can revert to manual collations of results, when we know fully well that in order to mitigate the issue of manipulation and sending the right signal, the IRF was supposed to be used immediately when they have finished election.
But Tanko, the Supreme Court was pointing to the law, because it's the Electoral Act that left that loophole.
Okay.
And it's in black and white, so you can't blame them.
Okay.
Maybe your party now should advocate for the amendment of the Electoral Act.
Okay, I thank you very much for alluding to the fact that it's the Electoral Act. But the same Electoral Act presented a solution to the issue. Why wouldn't the judiciary use the most favorable one that would help in enhancing our political system rather than taking those that will cause a negative system?
Because they can only judge the matter based on the law.
The law provided that, of course, that the IRF can be used. That is the position. It's
but
also in black and white.
It also provided a room for manual.
That's why the question I'm putting up, like, why would they take the lesser evil, and I mean the most criminal evil, as against those that can help our electoral system?
Yeah, it's because the law allows them to.
The laws also allowed them to look at the issue of the IRF, which was provided in the first place to mitigate the issue of electoral malpractices. That was the idea in the first place. Those who are in position of law or lawmaking now provided that particular lacuna for them to use in the case where they want to manipulate elections.
So it's simple. So it means you can't blame the judiciary.
The judiciary is responsible to protecting the sovereignty of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Where you put the sovereignty of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and democracy in danger, then you are going to be questioned. Because as you speak, as you act, it affects the judiciary. And now that is why you are speaking to the fact that our electoral system is having problems because of voters' apathy. Because the people who are the electorate don't believe that probably when they go and vote, their result will be counted. Take a look at the situation. 2 elections take place at the same time. Federal House of Reps, Senate, and the presidential election. The presidential election and the Federal House of Reps election results were pasted according to the provision of the IRF, and it was accepted by all. When it comes to the presidential election, you juxtapose it and then you mention the issue of glitches. Then when you go to the court now affirmed the issue of the glitch as against those who legitimately voted for it. And that, of course, makes it easy for those who manipulate the system.
Yes, but the thing is, if the system the law was manipulated, in your words, you are very enlightened as a legal person. You know that they say the law is on us. If I were to ask you, what would your answer be? Did INEC break the law?
Yes, it did. Because they promised, yes, they did.
No, which law did INEC break?
With facts. Yes. They came out and put up a document saying this. I don't
want you to speak as a spokesman.
No, I'm not speaking as a spokesman. I'm speaking as a Nigerian who is concerned. Yes, they provided a position. They said that we are going through this process. We will make sure that we post this result on an IRF when we finish election.
No, I'm asking.
I'm saying what they said.
Did INEC break the law?
Yes, of course they did.
Which law did INEC break?
The law in which they told Nigerians they will do.
No, that's not the law. That's not the law. The law is the Electoral Act.
What was the law? The law is that because they hinged their document on the fact of the provision of the Electoral Act. That was where they got their information from. But then, if they were not crooked...
Yunusa Tanko, you just said here that the Electoral Act left some loopholes.
Yes, of course. You are the one that says so.
For manual collation.
You are the one that says so. I only confirm that the fact that they provided an opportunity for a lacuna where the judiciary can manipulate the system against the interest of the people. Why did INEC not make it explicitly clear on their document and say, in the case in which there's a glitch, in the case where there is a problem of the transmission of the result, we will calculate and report this election by manual collating? Did they say so? No. It was not there. So that means there was a deceit in the first instance.
All right. Yunusa Salisu Tanko will go for a break. Stanley Nkwazima, when we return, please, I'll come to you. We have further questions for you right here on Politics HQ. Please, for those of you watching at home, stay with us. Welcome back. We're still x-raying the recently concluded rerun and by-elections conducted across 26 states in Nigeria for seats in the state and federal legislatures. My name is Kofi Bartel. Sterling Kwazima, senior analyst and political communications expert, is still with us. He joins us via video link from Abuja. Yunusa Tanko, Salusi Tanko, was a spokesperson of the Obidati presidential campaign. Still. Okay, still is, but that election is over.
Chief spokesperson to the presidency of Peter Obi and Deti Baba.
No, but
that was when they campaigned. But I'm still the chief spokesperson.
Okay. But the election is over.
That is for election. But I'm still the chief spokesman to Peter Obi and Deti Baba.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for the correction.
Yeah.
I want to go back to you, Stanley Nkwazima. Let's look at a statement from INEC. While the commission, because we're talking about electoral violence, and maybe I hope we'll have some time to look at the Electoral Act based on what Yunusa Tanko said tonight. But while announcing the suspension of voting in some areas due to the violence and irregularities that were recorded, INEC issued a statement. And in that statement, they said that they're inviting, in the statement, it was a tweet, and they also had a paper scanned copy of a statement. They said that they invite the security agencies to investigate the incidents, the ones I mentioned earlier, and that they commit to thoroughly interrogating any breaches involving its officials. Now, when INEC says we are inviting the security agencies, they say it, just say it, we're inviting the security agencies to investigate these incidents that we've put up in this statement, and we are committing ourselves to thoroughly investigating or interrogating any breaches by our officials. Is that the way to go in addressing such issues and such infractions or irregularities?
Let me make it clear here that we've had several issues of infractions, of violation of electoral laws, and even the INEC being the main actors involved. How can you tell me that you brought in electoral materials to Enugu? Let's put Enugu, the election that was held last weekend. You gave it to the central bank, the political parties who were active participants in that election supervised and inspected the material from page A to page B to Z. And then on the election day proper, you refuse to come out with the result sheets. So where are they going to write the result that party A got this, party B got that, and so on and so forth? It's a very big, let me put it mildly, that I'm ashamed, because if going by what happened during the presidential election, the state assembly and the national assembly elections of 2023, and this is a smaller unit of an election in 3 states, Enugu, Akwa Ibom, and Kano, and you cannot manage it, that means there's a problem with the system. I don't want to go into the legality or the legal issues involved in what they have done. I was of the opinion then that, okay, maybe when they are doing all these by-elections as directed by the courts of law, courts of competent jurisdiction, that they can handle this thing. Okay, it's a smaller unit. But as you can see from the video we've seen here, only one policewoman manning that station, knowing how sensitive that area is. Were the police people and the security agencies not invited? What happened? And at the end of the day, they will tell you they made several efforts. I'm going to tell you that it's going to cost us more to conduct another election, being off-season elections and all those kind of things. Secondly, the electoral process for the electoral law says on so-so and so-so days, election must be conducted. And when so-so and so-so things are not in place, the election could be cancelled. And the courts made it clear also. Now, in Kano, Akwa Ibom, and Enugu State, what happened? Why didn't you put enough security agents in place to guide against any violence? And why did you not come down to the electoral, to the polling units with the materials? So what happened? We need to know. Yes, there are loopholes and there are lacunas in the Electoral Act and all this. All these things should be taken into consideration. And I think we cannot stop and say we have a blanket, we are not going to amend the Electoral Act. There are areas that needs amendment. I don't want to talk about IREV. That one, the Supreme Court, they've given us a ruling on it and all those things. INEC needs to buckle up. They are not doing well at this time. I was thinking that based on what happened during the presidential and National Assembly and State Assembly elections. They should have made amendments to correct all these small issues. I call these small issues because, on the whole, they are not up to 400,000 people that came to vote or be voted, but the voters were not there. And they knew quite right that if they come to vote, their votes may not be counted. Well, why should I go there and waste my time?
Stanley, thank you. Because of time, I just want to quickly give Tanko Yunusa the chance to respond to this. Tanko, INEC has said, police, we're over to you in a statement. I don't know if they made reports of those incidents, but have you seen the Nigeria Police Force, despite the preponderance of evidence, identifying specific electoral offenders in Nigeria who have not been brought to book? Have you seen or heard them arresting anyone, charging them to court and prosecuting them over electoral infractions?
I don't think so.
Tanko.
That is the reason, one of the major reasons that we're having. Nobody has been prosecuted or been arrested. Yes, INEC is so much bedeviled with a lot of challenges. And that was the reason why we have been, advocating that INEC should be unbundled in such a way that we have the electoral body who will be seriously concentrating on election, and then we'll have the enforcement agency who will be directly involved in the issue of arresting those who are involved in electoral malpractices. Then the delineation commission. When we unbundle INEC in this direction, probably we'll start reducing some of the problems that we are having. But most importantly, we need to revisit the Electoral Act. The action of how we appoint INEC chairman must be revisited. We must also look at how the appointment of the commissioners of INEC be made. We must visit that particular. Then how do we enforce the law that we put in place to mitigate against all kinds of electoral malpractices? This is the first thing that we need to do, like right now, before we go into any elections.
Before you go, using the Plateau rerun polls, as a case study, even what happened in other parts of the country, I think your party won one of those seats in Plateau State. APC still lost despite the fact that the court had removed the PDP legislators who won and barred them from participating in that election. There were protest votes to ADP, LP, and so on. Do you think that gives probably reason for Nigerians to believe and hope in their democratic institutions? Sanko, very quickly.
Not really, because even if you say we won, I agree that we may have won. The most important thing in any election is the transparency of the election. That is what legitimizes it. And that even what gives hope for those who want to contest or vote for any candidate. So in every way you see it, if the process is not seems to be clean and acceptable by the people, then you have a problem. Like Peter Obi used to say, that he who seeks for equity must come with clean hands. And if you want to be called an excellency, you must come through an excellent process.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you so very kindly for your time. Stanley Nkwazima, senior analyst and, of course, political communications expert who joined us from Abuja via Video Link, and Yunusa Salusi Tanko, spokesperson for Peter Obi, and Dati Baba Ahmed, of course, of the Labour Party. Thank you so very kindly, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you.
I promise I'll get used to the new nomenclature. My name is Kofi Bartels. Politics HQ returns same time tomorrow. Good night.